What's up, YouTube? This is Mathos97, and I gotta say, that was one hell of a Raw that just went down on Monday night, the 30th of September, 2014, and it's gotta be pretty serious if I'm picking up a mic and doing a review on it. I haven't done a Raw review, since the 16th of July of 2013, and that was a pretty good Raw in itself, but this one, for some different reasons. It did have some shocking returns. It put over a wide variety of talent, and that's why I ultimately think that this could possibly even be greater than that Raw. But let's go ahead and just get right into the review, and I apologize excuse me for stuttering, but I apologize if I sound a little bit quieter than normal, but that is because in my house, people are sleeping. So I don't want to wake anyone up, so I gotta be kind of quiet about doing this. But hopefully I can still keep a good commentary going. And I mean, ultimately, I just want to review this Raw. So without any further delay, let's get this underway. So we start off with the reveal, the ultimate reveal of the 2K15 cover superstar athlete person guy. Yeah. So Stephanie McMahon tweeted out a picture of a blacked out superstar render with the 2K15 box art, and it looked like the blacked out render was Randy Orton, so I kind of thought it could have been Randy Orton, but then again, that wasn't a complete indication, or foreshadowing for that matter, of who the real cover athlete would be, as it was John Cena. And personally, I don't really care that John Cena was the cover athlete. I just think that the box art for WWE 2K15 looks badass. I mean, it's definitely different than the 2K14 background logo that it has, but at the same time, it's got this like white background with a bit of like a red slash through it, and then the background in like the red background kind of looks a bit similar to the 2K14 background logo for the box art and that sort of thing, but ultimately I think it still looks pretty good. It's unique, and it kind of has a little bit of reminiscence of last year's box art, which I think is pretty cool. But anyway, so we started off Raw with the opening segment, which was John Cena, Stephanie McMahon, and Triple H, and ultimately this segment would reveal that at Battleground there will be a fatal four-way for the WWE Championship between John Cena, Roman Reigns, Kane, and Randy Orton. And I can't even remember the last time we had a fatal four-way for the WWE Championship on the pay-per-view, main eventing a pay-per-view. So I think this is really cool. I'm really excited, looking forward to this fatal four-way, because, I mean, it's got a couple of feuds mixed into one. It's got the feud between Roman Reigns and Triple H. Ultimately, it's got that tied in there with Randy Orton and Roman Reigns having their little feud as well. And then there's, of course, Kane would also tie into that, the authority against Roman Reigns, while it's also the authority against John Cena. So I think this is going to be a pretty good fatal four-way main event. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about Battleground. I'm here to talk about Raw. And I gotta say, the crowd was just amazing for this episode of Raw. And at the beginning of the episode of Raw, I kind of had a feeling, I even tweeted out that, you know, if the crowd had kept up what they were doing, this was set to be one of those nights, you know, those epic Monday Night Raw shows, and that just turned out just to be exactly that. And ultimately, I think the crowd was a big influence on that. But as we move on to later in the show, if I do accidentally miss a few segments, I apologize for that, but that's probably because they aren't as important. But anyway, the next big segment that went down was Rusev and Lana. They came out to the ring, and they were doing, you know, Lana, her usual shtick, promoting Russia, America's weak. It was actually a little more anti-American than pro-Russian in this promo. And then, of course, you know, all this, you know, talking about Big E, how America is, you know, used to failure, something along those lines, and Big E was a failure in their match at Payback, or not Payback, what am I saying, at Money in the Bank between Rusev and Big E. And then, of course, you know, all this bashing of America, and then, of course, Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter come out to the ring. Swagger gets a huge ovation, Crowd was way behind. We got a ton of USA chants just thundering throughout the arena. We the People chants as well. The crowd was just fully behind Swagger. This is set to be one heck of a feud. I hope that this at least goes to SummerSlam, because, I mean, a one-off feud when you got a crowd reaction behind Jack Swagger like that, and Rusev, he's supposed to be this big anti-American dude, and Jack Swagger, he's a real American. He's basically the most patriotic opponent Rusev can have at this point. So, I mean, if this only gets one match at Battleground, which I don't think it will, I'm pretty sure we're going to get at least a second match at SummerSlam. But this is set to be a pretty good feud. Of course, we got Lana doing her promos. We got Zeb Coulter can talk on the mic as well. And, Swagger and Rusev don't really say all that much. So they can just kind of, they're just the big, the intimidating guys. And this is set to be a pretty good feud. Then we move on to, I gotta say, the saddest moment of the night for me. But also Bo Dallas, he did a pretty good job with this segment. We got a 60-second moment of silence for Daniel Bryan and Wade Barrett, because sadly, I'm afraid I've got some bad news, and even then, I am kind of sickened that I put it this way, but Wade Barrett, his separated shoulder, he'll be out, I think they said a minimum of 6 weeks, or maybe I just saw that on Twitter or something, but anyway, the point is, Barrett's going to be out indefinitely, and he was stripped of the Intercontinental Championship. But on the bright side, we have a huge battle royal coming up for Battleground for the Intercontinental Championship. But, yes, sadly, Wade Barrett will not be able to defend his Intercontinental Championship due to his injury. Thanks a lot, Swagger. I know I don't know. I have mixed feelings about Jack Swagger right now, because he's got this huge match with Rusev coming up. He's got this huge feud coming up. But he injured Wade Barrett. So, I don't know. I'm on the fence at the moment with Jack Swagger, but I'm sure I'll get over it in due time. But anyway, following that, of course, we got the reveal of the Intercontinental Championship Battle Royal, which transitioned right into the next segment. Damian Sandow coming out as Vincent Kennedy McMahon Dow. I gotta say, this was a pretty good comedic segment. Damian Sandow, I don't like how it ended, really, with Khali coming out and basically squashing him. But I gotta say, if that's a match we're gonna get out of Khali, hitting a chop and knocking Sandow out for a 3 count, I'd much rather see that than actually see Khali wrestle. But we did find out that Khali and Sandow will be in the Battle Royal. Khali gonna be one of those guys, the big dudes who just kind of get ganged up on and tossed over the top rope. And Sandow, I don't know. Looking at some of the superstars who will be in that match, including Cesaro. I'm sure Big E and some other superstars are going to be in there as well. So I don't know what kind of a chance Sandow has, but you never know. He might win. Probably not. At this point, I have to say the safe pick would be Cesaro, but we'll see how that goes. Then next up on my little list thing I've got going here is The Miz. Oh my, this segment. This was a really good segment because it completely caught me off guard what the end result would be. Both. Anyway, let me just get to before I stutter and confuse myself here. We had, little teasers going out throughout the night that there would be a former WWE champion and multimedia platform, something along those lines, basically, like movie star, that sort of thing, would be returning to Monday Night Raw. And eventually it built up. It led up to, ultimately, we got this little mini, promo package sort of thing, short 10-second clip or so on the Titantron, and then Miz's music hit, and I gotta say, this segment fooled me at the beginning, because I was frustrated. I was like, dang it, I thought we got rid of the Miz, but now the Miz is back, but luckily, he's coming back as a heel, which is good. That's the best we can get out of the Miz, because no one is going to cheer Miz unless you're a Misfit. But anyway, he came out, he did his shtick. He was talking about, building up himself as this Hollywood actor and, is WWE champion, of course, and that he should be main eventing WrestleMania, and he will not leave the company again until everyone in the crowd is on their knees begging him to stay. Man, we're never going to get rid of the Miz, are we? But Then well, maybe not the most shocking, but maybe not even the most shocking part of the segment, but Chris Jericho made his return, and that was pretty epic. And then, of course, we got, a little confrontation there between Miz and Jericho. Jericho pulling sort of a silent treatment, and Miz was all like, what is this, 2012 Jericho? You come back with your flashy jacket, and you don't say anything. And then Jericho takes off his jacket. It's like, oh, you're going to lose the jackets. And then Jericho hits a code breaker on the Miz. Jericho picks up the mic, and then the Wyatt family showed up, and I was freaking out. I was like, oh my god, this segment, I was not expecting that. I wasn't expecting Jericho to return, let alone to be attacked by the Wyatts. I mean, oh my god, I thought that was going to be, cream of the crop of this episode of Raw. I mean, this is set to be a pretty good feud, and I made a joke, like, unless the Wyatt family is Miz's, security team, because, Miz was really putting himself over, so I'm like, maybe he has the money, and he can afford the services of the Wyatt family, but no, nah, for real, this is going to be a pretty epic feud, hopefully going to SummerSlam. Whether there will be a match at Battleground or not, we'll have to find out in the next coming weeks, but anyway, without further delay, let's move on to the next segment, which was Dolph Ziggler versus, you gotta breathe in the A's, Fandango. And I gotta say, this was a pretty good, pretty funny segment to follow up with that, because we had that super huge, suspenseful segment with the Wyatt family and Chris Jericho. So I think this was a nice cool down segment to follow that up, but it was still pretty good. So we had, of course, the match between Fandango and Dolph Ziggler. And then during the middle of the match, Summer Rae randomly enters the ring. And she's kind of walking around, looking at Ziggler, looking at Fandango. And then she plants a big kiss on Dolph Ziggler. And then Fandango's like, Summer, what are you doing? And Layla, just kind of sitting there looking... I don't know what Layla's expression really was. But... then Dolph Ziggler fires back with one of his own, and then he really went at Summer Rae there. And I gotta say, this would be a pretty good pairing. I mean, especially if it's gonna extend this feud, and if it gets Dolph Ziggler a win, which it did. Dolph Ziggler hit the zigzag, got the win over Fandango. I was pretty satisfied after that, and I'm sure Ziggler really satisfied after that segment. It was a win-win for Dolph Ziggler. But, I don't know, with Summer Rae, I'm not sure if it's really about her and Ziggler. I think it's more so focusing on, her trying to make Fandango jealous and kind of get back at him. But, we'll have to see where this goes. Hopefully we can maybe get kind of a mixed tag sort of matchup, maybe. Or, I don't know if this is going to maybe branch off into a feud between Ziggler and Fandango, or if it's mainly just kind of extending that feud between Fandango, Layla, and Summer Rae. Why was I going to say Fandango twice? I don't know. But, this turned this love triangle. I mean, we know how much Fandango loves triangles, but turning this love triangle into what I believe Jerry Lawler said is now a love rectangle. So we'll see where this leads. I'm actually kind of interested. And then, I actually think I missed this segment earlier, but Cameron and Naomi, they competed in a handicap match against Nikki Bella. And backstage, there was a little segment with Nikki Bella and Stephanie McMahon. They had a confrontation. Not Brie Bella. She was talking about Brie Bella, and she was like, oh, the Bella Twins versus the Funkadactyls in a tag team matchup next on Raw. Oh, wait, that's right. Brie Bella doesn't work here anymore. So you're just going to have to do it yourself, which led to this handicap match between Nikki Bella against the Funkadactyls. And I actually think for what it was worth, Nikki Bella actually did a pretty good job at selling in that matchup. But basically, her and Cameron went at it for a little bit. Cameron tagged out to Naomi, and Naomi ended up picking up the victory. And then after the match was over, Cameron and Naomi they clashed. They got into a bit of a scuffle, just kind of didn't do too much. They just kind of pushed each other around. And then Cameron left the ring and just kind of, flipped her hair and total diva'd her way out of that segment. I don't even think that makes sense. I haven't ever watched Total Divas, so I probably can't make that a thing. But anyway, so then, just to kind of keep relevancy with what we're talking about now, I just went from Summer Rae and to Naomi, and now we're going to just go into the Divas Championship match. That's right, there was a Divas title match. And I gotta say, I was actually kind of going back and forth a little bit with Brendan, my good buddy Brendan Plays on Twitter, and saying how about Paige has, she's kind of struggled in her title reign up to this point. And I don't think it's completely her fault. Of course, the Divas division, once AJ left, suffered. I mean, her match with Naomi at Money in the Bank was really good. They did so, especially for a Divas match. It was, I guess, an okay match overall, but for a Divas match, it was pretty good. They had some nice spots, some chain wrestling, and they attempted to do things that, recently in the Divas division haven't been done. So I'll give them credit for that. They took risks. It was a really good match. But Paige, she has kind of struggled in her championship run up to this point. Whether it's bad booking, the Divas division, really lacking in, I guess you could say, star power and just overall depth. I mean, really, when AJ was the champion, she was the only diva. We had Natalya, who's a good worker, but, her character wasn't really developed much. The Total Divas were off doing their thing, and there really were, no divas there to challenge her, except for the Total Divas, which it wasn't really very entertaining. But it's kind of the same with Paige, except instead of her facing off against the Total Divas, she would face divas that were getting pushed and, undergoing some character development and actually, becoming relevant, but they weren't really relevant up to that point. So there wasn't a whole lot of substance behind their feuds because, neither of the two divas were very credible. But, really, I don't think that's all her fault, but I guess she has kind of underdelivered. But she has definitely been a better worker than some of the Total Divas. She has taken bumps that, recent divas, not just the Total Divas, but recent divas haven't taken at all. So, Paige, while I guess I've seen some of her work in NXT, and I'm thoroughly behind Paige, but I can see for the casual wrestling fan or someone who is new to Paige and hasn't really given her a chance yet, waiting to be impressed, I can see how they would believe that, she should go back to NXT and she really needs to work on her character or ring work or just trying to mesh with other divas, I guess you could say. But to cut straight to the point here, AJ returned tonight. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know if anyone else was, if that might have been on the dirt sheets or anything like that, but AJ Lee returned, which I gotta say, Paige needs this. Paige needed AJ to come back because, Paige's feuds haven't been all that interesting. I think the recent one with her and Naomi, I think that was a pretty interesting feud, but other than that, it was really more so focused on the other divas rather than her. And I really think she needs a good established feud with AJ to kind of show her stuff and prove that she can hang in this Divas division, that she does not need to go back to NXT. I don't think she needs to go back to NXT, but, for those who haven't seen Paige's work before and are still kind of new to her character, I can see why they would think she needs to go to NXT, and this feud with AJ is her opportunity to prove them wrong and show that she can hang with these divas, which I think she can, but she still kind of has to prove that on the main roster. And what happened on this segment of Raw was AJ came back, and she was kind of buttering Paige up a little bit, kind of like what Paige did. Paige even pointed that out, that, you're just doing what I did, coming out to congratulate me, but I ultimately know what you want. You want a rematch, and I don't think these people want to see a rematch. And this segment, actually, there was a double turn here, and Paige turned heel, a bit more aggressive in that matchup, although it was a pretty short matchup. AJ got the victory, kind of that fluke victory. She won by a roll-up, and Paige, she was kind of crying afterwards. I definitely think Paige needed this heel turn, and AJ coming back as a face, just to add a little more something to her character right now, because, like I said, she has kind of struggled recently. But, she needs a little something. She needs to show that aggressive side that she had in NXT, that the casual wrestling fan or those who just watch the WWE and are new to Paige have yet to see. They have not seen her aggressive side, and I don't know why she hasn't been able to show it. If WWE is just kind of holding back with her a little bit, or if that's on Paige. I'll just say a little bit of both, just so I'm not missing either. But she needs to show her aggressiveness, and if turning heel is what she needs to bring that aggressive side out of her, to bring her inner anti-diva out, then by all means, go ahead, turn her heel. But anyway, no matter who is the heel or who is the face, these two divas need a good feud, a long feud. Not one match, not just a blow-off match. At least 2 or 3 matches. These divas have to go at each other at least till SummerSlam. I'd prefer a little bit beyond that. Maybe we could get to some sort of Divas Survivor Series match. No, that's looking way too far into it. But really, like I said, when AJ was gone, the Divas Division suffered. Paige, she's a really good talent, but really hasn't been able to show her stuff all that well. Emma, she's a good talent. We saw what WWE did with her. Alicia Fox kind of disappeared ever since, her title match with Paige. Cameron and Naomi, they're doing their thing. Layla and Summer Rae, they're doing a feud. And then Tamina got injured, so we haven't seen any of her for a while. And the Bella Twins are dealing with Stephanie McMahon, so I guess you could say that there are 4 legitimate Divas feuds. Now, there's kind of a quotations around Stephanie and the Bella Twins, what kind of feud they have going. But if you count them out, there are currently 3 established Divas feuds, which is great. When was the last time the Divas Division had substance, this much substance to it, that there are multiple feuds going on besides Total Divas, because no one wants to see that. But besides Total Divas, that there are 3 established feuds, not 3 divas. I mean, hell, the past year there haven't even really been 3 established divas, but we've got 3 feuds now. Cameron and Naomi, Layla and Fandango, or not, what am I saying? That little love triangle is kind of still confusing yet, but I'd have to say that that's a feud between Summer and Layla. Hopefully that continues. Maybe they get a one-on-one match again in the future without Fandango, possibly. And then, of course, AJ and Paige for the Divas title. These 2 divas definitely need a feud. Not so much for AJ, but for Paige. And I'd have to say personally for the rest of the Divas Division in a way. We need a good Divas Championship feud. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, I mean, I don't really know much about wrestling. I'm not an expert on it, but in my humble opinion, the last time there was a good established Divas feud for the title was Payback 2013, Caitlyn versus AJ Lee. That was the last time the Divas Division really meant something. That's the last time the Divas title truly had substance behind it. There was a real, true meaning to it. Since then, AJ just kind of dominated everyone until Paige got that fluke victory. And even so, Paige has just kind of gone through, been getting dominated in her matches just to come back and kind of pull out a victory. Although, I don't say that was necessarily the case at Money in the Bank. That was a pretty back-and-forth match. But mostly, more than the Divas Division, I wouldn't say the Divas Division entirely needs this now. Because, I mean, we have these 3 feuds going. So it's not so much that the Divas Division is going to fall apart if this feud does not turn out well. But Paige needs this. She needs to she needs to really show her stuff to the casual wrestling fan, the people who have not seen her in NXT and do not know what she's capable of. And also to the WWE, the McMahons, and, the Authority. She's got to prove that she can hang in this WWE, that she can hang with the main roster. She has to prove that to the Authority, the McMahons, and to the fans. She has to prove that she can hang. While I personally think she has proven that in some of her matches, not all of them, but I also partially blame that on the lack of substance in the Divas Division, but Paige needs this feud. She needs AJ Lee to be here. She needs that established opponent, and not just a fluke victory, and then go on to face the other divas who really have no character development or any sort of build behind them. She needs a good, long, established feud with AJ Lee. Excuse me for the voice crack. But she needs a good, long, established feud with AJ Lee, who, like I said, she's established, she's credible, and a victory over AJ would be great. Not just a fluke victory like with that Paige turn that she did the Raw after Mania, but she needs if not a victory, she needs to do something that, catches your interest. Because really, her title reign up to this point until she dropped AJ Lee hasn't been all that interesting. If you don't have faith in Paige and you still have yet to see what she can do. The Paige versus Naomi feud I kind of liked, but really it hasn't been all that interesting up to this point. And I know I've been kind of rambling about Paige and AJ for a while recently, but I'm trying to emphasize the point here that Paige needs this feud with AJ. AJ doesn't really need it too much, but I'm glad to see she has the title back. Just kind of spice up that Divas division a little bit, turn some heads, and get interest back in that Divas title. And we'll see where this feud can lead. Hopefully, Paige, breaks out. If she does remain a heel, she has that aggressive side. Hopefully she can bring that out and prove that she can be a rival. She is an equal to AJ Lee, because that's what we need. We need two, more than just one. We need more than two. We need multiple established divas. But for now, if we can get Paige to the same level of intensity and credibility as AJ Lee, that is going to help out this Divas division in the long run, because with AJ, she was the only diva who had credibility. So if there was a feud that did not involve AJ Lee, it couldn't really grab your attention all that well, especially if it was with the Total Divas. But with Paige now, even if they're not feuding against each other, you can separate them and use those two divas to build up other divas, build credibility to the other divas, and then you'll have multiple divas in there that can compete for the title and are established. So ultimately, Paige needs this feud, and this is the possibility to make her one of the top divas in this division. But I think I rambled on long enough about Paige and AJ. I apologize for that, but moving on to another segment, one that actually preceded that. It was between Stardust and Goldust. And I gotta say, I personally enjoy the Stardust character. Cody has just been... Man, he's nailed that character perfectly, I'd have to say. Looks a lot like his brother Goldust. He even changed up his moveset a little bit, which I like. But yeah, they defeated Ryback here tonight. Just, kind of establishing... Going back to more of the tag team division, establishing Ryback and the Rhodes brothers once again, or as they're now, Stardust and Goldust. I don't know if they're going to get a new tag team name or how that's going to work, but really just to kind of establish some other teams to go for that division, as well as continuing to add some more, I don't know what to call it, I guess substance, for lack of a better term at the moment, to the character of Cody Rhodes. But then, of course, we move on to the main event, which was a tag team match. John Cena and Roman Reigns taking on Kane and Randy Orton. Of course, these four men will be competing in the Fatal 4-Way at Battleground. But what needed to happen, and what did happen, because, let's just forget how the match went down. In the end, Orton and Roman Reigns took each other out, way up to the stage, into the back. So then it was down to Kane and Cena. Kane got disqualified for the team, and basically proceeded to just beat the crap out of John Cena. And Seth Rollins' music hits, Triple H kind of waves him down, and it looks like he's going to cash in. Kane, Triple H, the referees all leave the ring. The referee's got the briefcase in hand, Triple H, yelling him, "Start the match!" He's cashing in, all that stuff. And Seth Rollins, he's eagerly waiting. He's, basically all fired up, just waiting for Cena, waiting for the match to start, waiting for Cena to get up to his feet so he can cash in and get the win. And Dean Ambrose runs down to the ring. He shuts that down real quickly, gets Seth Rollins right out of the ring, over the barricade. Dean follows him. They're out in the crowd. They disappear. And then it looks like Kane, Triple H ordering Kane, basically just telling him, okay, we didn't get the cash in, but just make sure Cena stays down. Just kind of get that lasting impact there at the end. So it looks like he's going to go after Cena. And then Roman Reigns runs down to the ring, hits a spear on Kane. And then we just get this long, 2 or 3 minute stare down between Triple H and Roman Reigns. Just staring bullets into each other's eyes. Just that dramatic stare down, the crowd chanting, "This is awesome." And it was. This whole show was pretty awesome. Well, I guess there were some segments that didn't really deliver and kind of lost my interest. This was a really good show overall. And, we got that tease for Roman Reigns versus Triple H at SummerSlam with that super long stare down. But ultimately, my favorite point in this show, I don't know, it's really tough whether I want to say Jericho getting attacked by the Wyatts, but ultimately I think I gotta say AJ returning and winning the Divas title from Paige and the double turn that went down there. But I want to know what you guys all thought about this episode of Monday Night Raw. Been going on for about 30 minutes now. If you managed to stick around and listen to my less than average commentary, I mean, this isn't as good as some of my other ones. I do apologize for that, but partially because, people in the house are sleeping, so I had to be kind of quiet, and I don't have, my composure is a little bit off because I gotta, I'll hear noises every once in a while, and then I kind of stop myself. So I do apologize for that this wasn't quite as coordinated as some of my usual universe mode videos and other stuff like that. But if you did manage to stick around for the whole video, first of all, I gotta thank you for listening to my commentary and putting up with me for this long. But also, what are you looking forward to most heading into Battleground? Because we've got a lot of stuff established, and we got a lot of stuff that can go down heading into Battleground. I'm actually super excited for Battleground, even though I only found out Friday before Money in the Bank that Battleground was in July and not October. But that made sense for why we had 2 June pay-per-views. But anyway, enough about me. What did you think about Monday Night Raw this week? Are you excited for Battleground? What are you excited for? Maybe possibly even for SummerSlam. I personally am really excited for Battleground. I didn't think it would get that much momentum behind it. I figured it would just kind of be that pay-per-view which, continues to lose steam heading off of Money in the Bank, and then at Battleground, things were going to start to really set up for SummerSlam, because that seems like that's how WWE does things a lot, which isn't good. But they're starting to really build into Battleground, and some of these feuds are definitely going to continue through Battleground, which is great. Battleground, it's between Money in the Bank, and because Money in the Bank's got to be one of those pay-per-views where you start to establish some feuds, start to set things up with the Money in the Bank ladder matches, while also concluding some. So Battleground, I've said that a bunch of times now, but it's got to be that pay-per-view that transitions from Money in the Bank to SummerSlam. Use that to carry feuds into SummerSlam, help build more momentum to that. So, what are you most excited for Battleground? What did you enjoy most out of Monday Night Raw? Did you manage to stick it out seriously throughout this whole commentary and you didn't just skip to the end? If you did, I gotta thank you a lot. I thank you loads. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. And if you just skipped ahead to the end, feel free to answer the questions down in the comment section below. If you enjoy the video, as always, that was a terrible transition. I don't know where I'm going with this. Let me just end it off here before I waste any more of your time. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep on YouTubing.